Hi, welcome to channel BTH. You and your coworkers often work remotely. You want to build a VPN server on Windows operating system. In this video, I will show you how to install OpenVPN server on Windows. When installing OpenVPN on the server, you need to choose to install it manually because the default installation will skip the necessary features. Two features required for OpenVPN server are OpenVPN service and OpenSSL. To configure the OpenVPN server, you need to use the command line, but rest assured you only need to use a few simple commands. Remember to open a command prompt with administrative privileges. First, you need to navigate to the EasyRSA directory of OpenVPN. Next, you run the file EasyRSA start.bat. We start configuring OpenVPN with the initialization command. Next, you create the necessary files for the OpenVPN server. For the sake of this video, I won't explain in detail what each of these files means. OpenVPN server will need 4 files included: ca.crt, server.crt, server.key, dh.pem. These commands to generate the certificate and key files for the server. This command creates a file dh.pem, which encrypts the data. I will copy the files needed to configure the OpenVPN server into a separate folder and name it server. It includes 4 files: ca.crt, server.crt, server.key, dh.pem. It includes 4 files: ca.crt, server.crt, server.key, dh.pem. After you have all 4 necessary files, copy and paste them into the config and config auto folders of the OpenVPN server. After you have all 4 necessary files, copy and paste them into the config and config auto folders of the OpenVPN server. Next, open Notepad with administrative rights and create a text file with the content as above. I will leave the sample file in the description of this video for your reference. Note that the list of file names here needs to match the names of the files you created in the previous step. Also, you can set the IP address range for VPN connection. The IP address range I use is 10.20.30. If you do the previous steps like I did, you don't need to edit anything further. Next, save the file with the OVPN extension and save it in the config auto folder of OpenVPN. You need to allow OpenVPN to pass through the firewall of the Windows operating system. So you need to allow port 1194 using UDP protocol to bypass Windows firewall. I named it OpenVPN for easy remembering. You can give it another name if you want. But make sure you configure the correct port and protocol. To access the OpenVPN server, you need to forward the port on your router. The port to forward here is 1194. The protocol is UDP. In this example, the IP address to be forwarded to is 10.11.32.136. You also need to assign a static IP address to your computer. Here I have pre-assigned static IP address to my computer, which is 10.11.32.136. You edit the IP address to match your local network address range. Next, you use DDNS service to fix when your public IP address is dynamic. I already created a domain name netn.freeddns.org. There are many DDNS services you can use like NoIP, DYNDNS, but in this example I use DynDNO. It's free for me. Create your own domain name. Next you install the DynDNO client to automatically update your dynamic public IP address. As you can see, my public IP address has been updated. You need to write down this domain name to use in the next step. We return to the command window to create the necessary files for the OpenVPN client. On OpenVPN client, 3 files are needed, including ca.crt, client01.crt and client01.key. I will copy the files needed to configure the OpenVPN server into a separate folder and name it client. Then you send these 3 files to the OpenVPN client so that it can connect to the OpenVPN server. You have many ways to send these files. For me, I send them by mail. The last step on the OpenVPN server is to restart the OpenVPN service with the command as above. And here are the 3 files I got from the OpenVPN server. As for the OpenVPN client, how do we configure it? This part of the video will help you do just that. You go to the OpenVPN homepage and download the same file as the server. But when installing, you just need to choose the default setting. You copy and paste these 3 files into the config folder of OpenVPN. Next, open Notepad with admin rights and paste the same content as above. I will leave sample content in the description of the video for your reference. Here you enter your domain name. If you use static public IP address, then replace it here. This list of file names needs to match the name of the file you copied to the config directory in the previous step. Then you save the file with the extension open and save it in the configuration directory of open. Now let's check the results. As you can see, I have successfully established connection to the OpenPN server. If you have multiple clients, then you repeat the steps of creating files for different OpenPN clients and do the same as above. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel.